listeners. This is Sima Vasa. I'm so excited to welcome Amishi Takalkar, who is a co-founder and CEO of NAILBITER. Welcome, Amishi.
Hi, Seema. It's so good to be talking to you. I've been looking forward to it.
Same. I got past the hardest part, which was pronouncing your last name. It's really, I think I've shared with people, the hardest thing about the podcast for me is to be able to say people's names correctly because I'm sensitive to it growing up and everybody kind of changing the pronunciation. So thank you for being patient with me.
Oh, of course. And you got it spot on. So I'll say
Thank
that
you.
that was a 10 on 10. So
Thank you.
that
Thank
should make you feel really good.
I appreciate it. Um, Mishi, you have such a cool background, and I want to talk about Nailbiter and obviously how you founded it, why you founded it. But before we dive into that, can you just share a little bit about your background and how you got to the point of founding Nailbiter?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually started my first job was at MTV India as an aspiring VJ and clearly didn't succeed or, found that to be more exciting. I'm one of the few people who was like, oh, wow, and I love the numbers that I'm seeing with TRPs and things like that. So
Yeah.
fast forward, I came to the US to do my master's in marketing research. So the passion was so strong that I actually decided to pursue my master's in this industry. My first job out of school was at Frito Lay. So Doritos and Cheetos were my brands. I was in Plano, Texas on the consumer insights team and just fascinating, right? The CPG
Right.
industry.
Yeah.
Working on such iconic brands was just amazing experience, if you will. Moved to, AOL, continued my journey on the client side and eventually made my way to the supplier side at Afanova. And
Nice.
that's when I kind of am so grateful for that opportunity because it got me to see the client side as well as the supplier side. And guess what? Still on the supplier side, having a lot of fun. and
I've
and
had
that's
that
my
too. I've
background.
That's awesome. It's funny because I've been on the supplier side for so many years before I went into investment banking and advisory services. But um, I went to IBM on the client side, and the grass is not always greener. There's pros and cons to both sides. So I can totally empathize with um, having both experiences. They kind of round you out, though. Honestly, right? From seeing the world from those two perspectives.
It does, and it just makes you a more empathetic researcher. I feel when you've
Yes,
been on both sides. So if you started your career on the supplier side and went to the client side, I feel like those clients are just great to work with, right? No
yes,
offense to the clients who haven't worked, but
of
I think
course.
it's a different kind of, experience that they bring to the table. And same for people who've come from the client side and moved to the supplier side. I think it just makes us more conscious of the day-to-day things that our clients struggle with that we just need to have in mind, like why they're not returning my call. Guess what?
100%. Yeah. Yes, they have this whole other world that's even beyond research,
Thanks.
right? It's navigating internally and adding value to the business. So eventually you were at Afanova. I think you mentioned that they got acquired
By Nielsen,
by
correct. They were
Nielsen.
acquired by Nielsen. And that's where we had the option to, join Nielsen or do something that we were really passionate about. And
Right.
one of the things, like my first project, right, my first study ever that I did was for Cheetos, where we were actually watching moms and their tweens
Yes.
shopping for snacks. And we're following them around the store in a Walmart. And the first thing that's crossing my mind is this is not comfortable. This is like I feel
Yeah.
you just feel like how's this all working where the moms, looking, talking perfect. The tween is perfect. I've been around other tweens and they're not that. I'll tell you.
They're not
That
that
blows
nice.
my load now. and, and then I mean if I told them they should buy a healthy snack over Cheetos, they'll be like, sure, yeah, right. Like I can forget about that. So it kind of
Exactly.
left that doubt in my mind where how real is it? But we didn't have a choice, right? We did the best with what we had. And this was like early 2000s. And then we followed it up with quantitative survey because then you want to validate the 20 people you saw in the store,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And that kind of really stayed with me because I legitimately felt that there has to be a better way to do this.
Right.
Fast forward, this acquisition happens, and that's I'm kind of thinking about what should I do, right? What should I be doing? And that's where me and my co-founder were talking, and we were like, this is a problem that exists in the industry, right? We are using
Right.
online surveys and they have a role to play. Absolutely,
Of
right?
course. Right.
But there is this part where we are expecting consumers and shoppers to recall what they did
Yeah.
or or kind of predict what they're going to do without having all the facts in front of them. And that's where Nailbiter came to be, when the whole kind of goal was, how do we observe shoppers and consumers in that moment of truth when these decisions are being made, and just watch. Let's see what they're doing. Let's have them talk as much as they want.
Right.
Ask them a few questions without leading them too much, and just use that quantitatively to answer these burning questions that, we had when we were on the client side.
So you decided to use video, I would right, as a
Correct.
primary source to and I guess what it does is it prevents the unnatural feelings of data capture because you're not being quote unquote watched as you're making every decision during your shopping journey.
Yeah, I mean, this is the best part because these videos are literally, these are consumers and shoppers either like recording their screen when they shop
Yeah,
online, or literally, the camera is pointing to the aisle and they're shopping for cookies, and they don't feel compelled to say the right things. Because if I'm buying a brand that I love the
yeah,
brand, I'm buying the brand that I love. That's what
right.
it's all about, right? And they may not be looking at calories. They may not be looking at, what's popping here and what is the content. Is it a clean label? Like, that may not be the things that they are conscious
Actually doing.
thinking
Yeah,
about, right?
right, right.
And those who are thinking about it, you get to see that as well, because there is a, really strong set of consumers and shoppers who want recyclable packaging, who want a clean label, who really care about organic ingredients, and
Yeah,
let them do what they do. Let people who don't care about it do what they do, right? We want to let people be and just not force them to think about things that they may really not care about,
yep, yep.
right?
So
And
how does
that,
that work? How does it work? I mean, she like, um, first of all, you said you do this at scale. Is that
yes.
right? This is not qualitative. This is you would put this in the category of quantitative shopper insights. D-
Correct, correct. And that's been our biggest differentiator is
okay,
we don't want to give you a few videos and then have
right,
you watch the videos to figure out what's going on and then build a survey, right? The
right,
goal here is it is at scale where we're talking to hundreds and thousands of shoppers as they're making these purchase decisions in the store. The way it typically works is before the videos even come in, there is a screener that goes out using our traditional screening methods,
sure,
and we are capturing what's on their shopping list. So that
okay,
allows us to get, whether they are category buyers, where they're planning to buy their, products on the next shopping trip. Is it online? Is it in store? If it's either of those, is it, Walmart.com, or is it going to a Walmart, or is it
sure,
cart or going to a Wegmans, right? So we can
yeah,
cap all this. And that's where on the other side, our clients are working with us to better understand what's happening with their categories at these specific retailers. So then using the shoppers getting this data in, we invite the shoppers to make a video the next time they are in the store planning to buy the category. Again, they don't have to buy, because there are many times I'll put something on the list. I go into the store, I'm like, should I be buying this? Maybe.
right, yeah.
How many times
Or
have
you
we
look at the subtotal of your cart and you're like, "Ah, I don't really need that today."
done? Exactly. Right. 10 snacks. I think my kids will be okay with 5.
Right.
And that's where we don't force people to do anything that they wouldn't have done otherwise. So these are like short videos. We don't
Okay.
for the entire shopping trip. We just capture the categories that we're interested in. So literally these videos could be 30 seconds long, they could be 3 minutes long, depending on how much time the consumer wants to spend if
Right.
deciding what they're going to buy, right?
Right.
And it's where these videos then come into our system at scale, and we start tagging them for very specific metrics. Because
Nice.
as you can imagine, there's a lot people say, right? Who
Of
they're buying
course. Yeah.
for. I used to buy this, then I got into this, then I got into this, but now I'm doing this, right? So just there's a wealth of information. But if I start to look at every little bit, you're gonna get so many data points, and you're not gonna know what to do with it.
Right. Right.
So that's where over the past 10 years we've developed very, specific metrics that we tag these videos for, that have become kind of the currency on
Mhm.
our client team. So they'd be like, here, Mishi, we really need this code to take to Walmart. Right?
Mm.
Those are the conversations that they're coming to us with, when now these metrics get tagged, right? Or, these observations get tagged into metrics, the behaviors that get tagged into metrics. And we share these metrics with our clients on an ongoing basis. So our clients will like start off potentially in the beginning of the year, and sometimes there'll be like an always on platform where videos keep coming in, and
See.
quarterly we'll report out what's going on, what are the trends, how are our shoppers evolving, what's happening when our product went out of stock, right? Who did we lose it to? Things like that. Does
And
that
it does. And I guess there's a really important point here is that are you continuously collecting the data? It's not on a project by project basis, but what I'm understanding you say is that it is data collection for specific categories on a continuous basis. Is that right?
it's it's both. So we have
Okay.
a lot of clients use like more of like an ongoing
Mm,
tracker kind of a format where
yes.
we just want to understand how things are evolving. Um,
Right.
there are clients who work with us on an ad hoc basis also. These tend to be like 4 5 week engagements where they're trying to get some information for that point in time. Hey, my product's not doing well.
Right.
Going on in the store? What's
Got
happening?
it.
Things like
Okay. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It sounds like you've kind of hit a very important niche because obviously launching products is getting the feature benefits is important during the product innovation cycle, but then actually getting it on the shelf and understanding what's happening at the virtual shelf or on the physical shelf is another big determining factor of a product success. Are you finding that you are able to inform clients as to what's going on with new product or new item introductions?
yes, and that's one of the core things our clients come to us for it. Clients typically have historically done so much research before something makes it,
Yes.
in the conceptual
Yes.
stage. There's like hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars being
Yes.
spent. But
Yes.
then the product makes it to the store and you're relying on sales data, right?
Right.
How much is it turning over, right?
Point of
Is
sale.
it
Yeah,
planned?
exactly. Yep.
And then one of the things clients are realizing is there are things to influence. We have the option. If things are, if the sales are softer, there
Right.
are, unless they decide to, hey, we're going to just shelve it, like
Yeah.
we're done,
Yeah.
then there's no point, right? But a lot of times clients want to know, hey, what happened, right? It
Yeah.
tested so well. We had these amazing projections, but our sales are softer than what it was. And
Yeah.
a lot of times it has to do with execution. Where was it placed on the shelf?
Mhm.
You showed the perfect pack with the perfect lighting with the competitive set to your consumers on a virtual shelf, but real world your bottom shelves, nobody's
Right.
looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no wonder the sales are softer than what you
Right.
thought, and that's where we'll go to them with recommendations that you may want to do a display, because yes, you're
Mm,
not getting better placement. Retailers probably saying, well, your product is not turning over, that's why it's bottom shelf. But at
right.
the end of the day, we can give them data that shows that if it was at eye level, you would have turned it over faster,
Right.
right?
Right.
Use
Yes.
that data to take to retailers to get better placement, because the problem is not in the product. The problem is in where it's shelved today. Give it a little bit of time. Have these conversations. Go with videos, right? Because these
Yeah.
are shopper videos. Add that retailer who's talking and saying, wow, I love it. I want to buy it. I want to try it. And that's so much like richer information than
Yeah.
going with some slide with like many numbers in it. And
So,
you have that too, but the videos
right.
also go with it.
I always find that the videos make the it makes it come alive a bit. People can connect to people speaking about their experience. Um, Let me ask you this. So typically consumer insights is doing the idea screening, doing the concept testing, kind of all that research before launch.
Yeah.
And then it goes into market and and shopper insights then steps in and says, this is my interpretation. I would love to get your feedback because you live this every day. Shopper insights comes into play and says, how do I sell more of this new product? Is there a connection here between consumer insights and shopper insights? What do you see on the client side there?
It's interesting, and it varies quite a bit
Yeah,
by clients, because
sure.
historically what would happen in market was also consumer insights. Like shopper insights
Ah,
were used to, like 20 years back, there was no shopper insights team
right.
where I
Yes.
used to work, right? So shopper insights has become a thing in the last few years, and it continues to grow because I think
Right.
one of the key things that brands and companies are realizing is your retailers have so much power, right?
Yeah.
They can decide the future of your brand based on
Yes.
where they place it. We see more and more private label brands being pushed by
Yes.
retailers, right?
Yes.
And our name brands, national brands, which used to have so much leverage, at times losing share of
The
shelf.
power. Yeah.
Yeah, losing share of shelf, whether it's in store, whether it's online. Like you go to Amazon.com, you put cookies. I'm keep using that example. I just love cookies, so that man. But with cookies, I could type in literally just cookies, and guess
Yeah.
what? If I had my own brand, Amishi's cookies may
Yeah.
come even before your Oreos or your Chips Ahoy.
Right.
And I
I have
get
seen that. Yeah.
depend. So retailers hold so much power today to decide who they want to push. And that's where this whole shopper insights category management has become so important, because the main goal here is to, number one, have these strategic conversations with
Right.
retailers, because retailers want to continue to push what's right for them, what's right for the shopper. So
Hmm.
if shopper insights comes in, they won't necessarily go in with, here's my brand and this is what you want to do. Their objectives are more for the category. So they
Sure.
want to sell more cookies at Walmart. So that's
Right.
the conversation they are having, where everyone wins, right? The retailer wins, their brand wins, our brand wins in the process. So if you grow the category, our brand is expected to get that fair share.
Everybody is lifted. Yeah.
Correct.
That makes
Correct.
sense.
And kind of not losing that shopper. I think that's another piece where the big retailers are, in certain cases, losing their shoppers to, the Dollar Generals of the world,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And will have become more value driven. So at the end of the day, if I'm one of a bigger banner retailer, and if I have data internally to say that I'm selling fewer cookies,
Right.
what's going on, then
Yes.
goal here is to minimize walkaways, which is Amishis at Walmart shopping for cookies. They want me to buy some cookies, any
Right.
cookies, right? They
Right.
don't want me to leave and just go buy something online on Amazon.com,
Yeah.
which
That
also
makes sense.
happens. We see videos where people are in the store, pull up the phone, see what's on there, and buy on Amazon.com. And you just lost the shopper when they were in
Right.
the store in front of your category.
Yes. Yes. Obviously, COVID completely shifted the landscape in terms of shopper behavior. Um, what are your kind of key takeaways from, you know, having pretty stable models in terms of shopper journeys and understanding how people are shopping categories, physical, online, and then we had COVID where the world changed. Where are we now? Are we back to? I don't think we're back to. I just think of my own behavior. We're not back to pre-COVID, but where does it net out from your perspective? Or
No,
maybe it's not. Maybe it hasn't settled yet either.
yeah, it hasn't settled yet. And I think that's the world we are in, where it's not going to be settled. I think those playbooks that we would create that lasted for five
Yes.
years,
Yeah.
it's a thing of the past. I think with the world, the way it keeps evolving, with also
Yeah.
the generations that are entering, right? You look at a millennial versus a Gen Z,
Yeah.
very different, right? I mean, I see Gen Zs buying more, engaging with more brands on
Yeah.
TikTok, right?
Yes.
And Instagram, as compared to the traditional ways in which we would engage with them. So how do you make sure that you are relevant to them,
Right.
right? How do
Yes.
they're so influenced, pun unintended, by social media influencers. Oh my God, this one I follow talked about this. It's whether it's good, bad, ugly, I'm gonna try
Yes.
no matter what. And it becomes a thing, right? And then
So
you
true. So
make
true.
a video of the unboxing experience, and you make a video. Like, there's a video for
Ev
everything.
yeah. Yeah.
So, so I think that's one thing that I'm seeing, which is, and clients are seeing that as well, manufacturers are seeing that as well, that those playbooks are going to need to evolve. I don't think they need to
Yeah.
change dramatically from one point to that. I think some things will continue to hold, but to
Right.
get that nuanced learnings in is going to be really important, especially when it comes to digital. I think
Right.
that's one thing that I've seen. I think the second thing we've seen is everyone is an omni-channel shopper.
Yeah.
Everyone is an omni-channel consumer, right? Depending on the day, or most people are, I would say, I shouldn't say everyone. I don't want to generalize 100%.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most of us,
Yeah.
right? But depending on the day, depending on what's happening with my life, I could be shopping in store, I could be shopping online. I might shop online and go pick it up in the store. Like,
Right.
the options I have to fulfill that need are limitless.
That really are. I totally agree with you. And I do agree. It's so much around your day or that time of day as to what you can invest in terms of quote unquote shopping.
Correct, correct,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that's where also I feel that when you, uh, the way I engage with brands also changes based
Yeah.
on where I'm shopping. I
Right.
may and that time of day and day of
Yes.
week, right? Because originally I can speak for myself. Like 5 years back, I would be writing down very specific brands that I wanted to go buy from the store.
Right.
Now I don't know if I do that because the way I shop online has changed the way I
Yeah.
even make my shopping list. Whether it's an online list or a physical list, I think
Sure.
fundamentally a lot of people have changed in the way they shop. I feel the way they think about brands. Some folks find a lot of comfort in national brands, whereas in
Right.
some other categories, buying private label makes me feel better about other things.
Right.
And
Right.
yes, and
Or even like for younger generations, buying a brand that's not national makes you feel like you're eclectic or right or different or whatever. I've seen that with my nieces and my daughters as well. It's
that
a
is
thing.
what you say is so true because I buy a national brand for a certain category. Let's take for example beauty, and my kids think they are experts at everything. I have two teenagers now, which
Wait, you didn't know that?
they have an opinion about everything, about every skin type, about everything anyone should be using, and they've been like, "Mom, like this is great, but why wouldn't you try this? You should have talked
Right.
to me." Like,
I know.
and people have names of brands that I would be like, they call that brand this? Like, I question even some of the nomenclature. I'm like, what am I hearing here? But
So true. So
exactly
true.
what you're saying. It's about being different and
Yeah.
trying things. Yeah.
Let's talk about brands and spend. We just went over the Insight CEO survey pulse
Mhm.
results, and many indicated that there's longer sales cycles on the brand side. There's lower budgets on the brand side. What are you seeing? One and two. What are brands doing if they're not getting research? Right? Like, how are they informing their decisions? I'd love to get your perspective on that.
Look, I think they're just getting settled. I feel that even brands and manufacturers, at least some of the clients we worked with, have seen so much change and
Mm,
of turnover, a lot of
yes.
reorgs
Yeah.
where people just don't have the have it written of what their goals are for next year. And that's
Right.
they don't know what the amount that of budget they're gonna get next year is gonna be. So it has been I agreed with a lot of
Yeah.
things heard and read and I'm like, wow, like okay, it's not just me. So that was a
Sure.
very it kinda I don't mean to say that everyone should be miserable like
Right.
commiserate.
But you feel like you don't feel like you're an anomaly. This is
Correct.
pervasive. Yes.
It is.
Understand.
I think there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot happening on the clients, and I think there's intent to spend. I think
Yeah.
clients are just on the conversations I've had with them. It's been more about what, like, I need things to settle down. I need to
Right.
have my number, and I think a lot of uh, mergers and acquisitions have
Yes.
happened. A lot of spin-offs have happened. I think
Yes.
in the industry, there's just been a lot of movement, if you will. I also hear from clients that I want to say like they don't know what to expect either. They've
Mhm.
had amazing years, right?
Mhm.
Just like
Yeah.
our industry did,
Sure. Yeah.
2020, 2021,
Yeah.
and made a lot of profit. Everything was great. But then come 2022, and especially in 2023, yeah, I was traveling and I saw, I don't know how many people I saw sick. And
Yes.
that's basically, even that's that question. Then, like, what can I expect in my peak season this year? Right?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
holiday season is a peak season for a lot of
Right.
manufacturers, but people don't know, what the situation is
Right.
going to be like on the ground, and
And
that's
then and how consumers will react, right? Are they gonna say, "Wow, it's been a tough year. Let's tighten let's tighten our wallets a bit and not go crazy because we just don't understand what's going to happen beyond the end of this year." It'll be interesting to see how consumers react.
It is, and I feel like this is true. My husband works in the travel industry,
Yeah.
and he talks about the fact that people are still continuing to travel like there's no tomorrow, right? All
Right. Yes.
After COVID or during COVID, when people didn't travel spend is going well. But
Yeah.
one of the things that even they are seeing and they are hearing is that it at some point it has to slow down, because
Yeah.
now, like just a couple of days, like yesterday, I think S&P like took a
Yeah.
10%, right? And again, that's another question, which is this a trend? Is it going to keep going down, or is it just one day, 2 days and going to go back up?
Rebecca.